All right, so this is our next lesson, and we are going to be talking about the humanitarian reform movements. Remember, reform is just a change, trying to fix things out and make it better. So we're going to see these different versions of reform movements that went kind of through during this time of the Industrial Revolution time period. First word we got to do is we got to understand what the word humanitarian means. It means helping to improve welfare and happiness of the people. So trying to make the humans a lot better. So we're going to find any which way we can do it. So we're going to see a lot of changes in laws, the way we treat people, and just along those sorts of ways. Now, the biggest cause of this is just like what we talked about the other day in class is the Second Great Awakening. This is where Christian revival movement to remedy evils of society before the second coming of Christ. So we're trying to find a way to bring everybody closer to Jesus and to find a way to save your soul so you don't end up in that bad place. It's going to make people eager to reform because they're going to see the evils in their world and they're going to find ways to go through and make it a better place to be at. So they're going to do it through your revival meetings. The best part about this is that slave owners would all show up together. And in a lot of cases, you'll see the slaves turn around, baptize their owners to try to find a way to bring them closer together too. It made a lot of changes as far as the slavery issue went. Now, the first one that we're going to talk about is the temperance movement. And the temperance movement is going to be to stop drinking. As long as you know that, you're in good shape. This movement is going to take effect around the early 1900s. We're going to see that actually pass an amendment in the Constitution to turn around and stop alcohol sales all around the country. It gets removed by a constitutional amendment a few years later, but, they at least tried. The next one is education reform. Some of the things that we're going to do is school should be free. Think about it. You don't pay a penny to show up to school. You brought your supplies, but you don't have to pay to come into our class. All teachers should be trained, not just the person that could read good is going to be the person to teach us. So we're going to have that. All kids are going to attend. For the first time in American history, girls are going to be allowed into schools. We didn't let that happen before that. Knowledge is power. We don't want that to happen. And so they're going to have this come through. We have women's roles in education didn't always require an education. Women's role didn't require education. Usually the homemaker. Well, now they're going to start getting out to work, and that's going to make a big difference. And so more and more women are going to become educated. And we're going to have the colleges are run by religious organizations, Harvard, Yale, other schools along that nature are going to be religious based. Special needs reforms. This is going to be especially for people that have mental disabilities or physical disabilities. We're going to have a lot of people that are special needs, and what the original way of doing is you kind of would have the child and then you throw them into jail or into a hospital. They'd be strapped up to a bed and left there until they lived out their life. So very terrible situation. Instead, what they're going to do is they're going to find these hospitals and try to build around it and try to help people compensate for their issues, and so that way they could be productive members of their society. And so we're going to see a lot of people make those changes into being better for themselves. We're going to have prison reforms. Back in the day, what we would do for a prison is we would have a big open field. We'd have a cage around it and say, here you go, good luck. You had to kind of provide your own food. You had to provide your own way of taking care of your stuff. And it was not the best way. They're going to have a lot of torture. A lot of terrible things happen to the prisoners. What's going to happen, though, is they're going to transition to thinking that prison should not be just an end-all, we're here to get rid of you, but as a goal for rehabilitation and try to help you be a productive member of society. And so we're going to see a lot of changes in that movement. Next, we have the abolitionist movement. This one we have the most knowledge of. Y'all have talked about it for multiple years. But this is where we're going to try to see a lot of the slaves be freed. We have newspapers like The Liberator that are going to go through and try to help people talk about the problems in the South. We're going to have a book called Uncle Tom's Cabin. I'm going to write that here. You might want to write that down as well. Uncle Tom's Cabin. and it told about slavery. So you want to make sure you have that. And you're going to have people from both their African free former slaves to white people all joining together to try to free as many slaves as humanly possible through the Underground Railroad. And so we're going to see a lot of change for those people, especially. You're going to kind of see the Underground Railroad through an activity that we're doing in class. And then finally, we have the women's movement. And this is to get more and more women the right to do just about everything. They demanded equality. And we're seeing a lot of this still going on today, especially about equality in pay. We're seeing a lot of people looking forward to this. They were able to get their work days down from 16, 18 hours down to 10 hours, which is a huge thing. And then it began the movement for suffrage. This is going to be the right to vote. So we're going to see a lot of people try to go through and get that right to vote. So make sure you have all these movements down and be ready for further instructions.